Okay, welcome to Beyond the Basics, how to approach state payroll reporting corrections. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Adriana. I am the product manager for Tax Bandits. I am joined by my lovely co-host Christy.
Hi, everyone. I am the team lead of our client success team at Tax Bandits.
Yeah. So today we're gonna go over understanding corrections and avoiding common errors. We will also discuss how Tax Bandits can help simplify the correction process. So one of the most important things to understand is that every state handles payroll corrections differently. Unlike federal filings, there is no universal correction process. Each state establishes its own terminology, forms, filing methods, and agency requirements.
So that means that the correct next step will depend on several factors:
Mhm.
the state, the type of form, the agency involved, and whether the original filing was rejected or accepted.
Yeah. So let's begin with the terminology, Christy. If someone notices an error on a previously filed return, they may assume they simply need to file a correction, but states don't always use that term, correct?
Exactly. Depending on the state, the process may be called an amendment,
Mhm.
a correction, adjustment, revised return, or supplemental filing.
So for this webinar, we'll be using the term correction just to maintain transparency so we're on the same page. But the key takeaway is that these terms are not always interchangeable and you should always follow your state's specific instructions. All right.
Now that we know that what these terms are, we also need to know what the
Mhm.
responsible agency may also be involved when you're correcting your forms.
Right, that's right. So state withholding is typically administered by your state's Department of Revenue
Mhm.
or the Department of Taxation. Then state unemployment insurance, also known as UI or SUI, it's generally administered by your Department of Labor, the Workforce Commission, or Employment Security Department.
Mm.
And then new hire reporting could be managed by a child support agency or a designated new hire reporting center. I've noticed with most new hire
Mhm.
reporting, they have their own designated
So,
reporting center.
so even within the same state, a single payroll error could require actions across multiple agencies.
Yeah, exactly. That's important to remember. So, correcting an employee's payroll information may require one submission for state withholding and a separate submission for the unemployment insurance, and same for
That's
new
good to
hire
know.
reporting. Yes.
Now let's talk about why corrections may be needed. Some of the most common issues
Mm-hmm.
involved employee information such as the incorrect social security number,
Mm-hmm.
a misspelled employee's name, missing employee,
Yeah.
and a duplicate employee. We also have seen wage-related errors, including incorrect taxable wages, incorrect unemployment wages,
Mm-hmm.
and incorrect state withholdings.
Right. And not every correction involves an employee. Sometimes the employer's information is what is incorrect.
Exactly. Employers' errors may include an incorrect FEIN
Mm-hmm.
or the state account number. And there can also be reporting errors such as selecting the wrong quarter, filing the wrong reporting period, or reporting wages to the wrong state.
Right. So the type of error matters because it helps determine which agency must be contacted and which correction process needs to be followed.
Right.
So let's talk about void versus corrections. There's two terms that can cause confusion: void and correction. We've seen that
Right.
in many scenarios. Christy, do you want to explain the difference?
So a void generally removes the filing in the record like it should never have been submitted.
Mm-hmm.
A correction updates inaccurate information
Right.
on the filing that otherwise was valid.
Right. So, for example, a void may be appropriate when the same filing was submitted twice, an employee was reported who should not have been included,
Mhm.
or a filing was submitted for the wrong quarter. Also, a correction may be appropriate when the employee's wage was incorrect, the withholding amount was incorrect, employer or employee information needs to be updated.
However, it's also important to note that not every state allows filers to void a submitted payroll return,
Mhm.
so you need to check with your state.
Right, exactly. So a state may require an amendment, adjustment, zero return, or a direct contact with the state agency instead. So never assume that void is an option, an available option without reviewing your state's requirements specifically. So let's talk about when you're filing in the wrong quarter. Um, we can walk through a real world example. So, say an employer intended to report their second quarter wages, but accidentally filed them under the first quarter. It may seem like they should simply amend the first quarter and file the second quarter correctly.
But there may also be a payment involved.
Mm-hmm. So if a payment was submitted with the return, the employer may also need to have that payment moved to from the incorrect quarter to the correct quarter. So depending on your state, the employer may need to request a payment transfer, a account adjustment, an amended return, a refund or a credit, or a combination of these steps. It just depends on, the process that the state give you.
So correcting the return doesn't necessarily correct the payment that was applied.
That's very important to know. So filers should review both the return and the payment to make sure the entire issue is resolved. That's very key
Good.
in understanding. So
But before correcting anything, always verify the filing status. Is the return pending, rejected, or has it been accepted?
yeah. So why is that important, Christy?
Because the filing status determines what you should do next. If the filing was rejected, the state generally does not accept it as an official return. If that's the situation, you should just file that. You shouldn't just file an amendment. You need to review your message instead, your rejection message, identify the error, correct the original filing, and then resubmit that original filing.
Right. So what are some common reasons a return would be rejected?
Those could be an invalid account number, missing required information, an incorrect reporting period, a mismatch with the agency's record, or even an invalid employer information. It's any number of things.
Yeah.
It may also be important to resolve these rejections promptly. If the return is not successfully resubmitted there by the deadline, it could be subject to late fees and penalties.
So what if the filing was accepted?
If the filing was accepted, the filer should determine what information needs to be changed, which agency, because we listed several, is affected, and does the state require an amendment or an adjustment?
Yep.
Can it be filed electronically or does it need to be paper filed? That is key when dealing with multiple states. And is there a payment, credit, or a refund that also needs to be addressed?
Right. And an accepted return should not simply be filed again as the original return.
No.
That could create a duplicate filing and make the issue more complicated, which we want to avoid.
Absolutely. Although every state has its own requirements, the general correction process usually follows a similar path. First, verify the filing status. Next, identify the exact error and determine what the correct information should be.
Yep.
Gather any supporting documentation that you need to provide to the state, along with the original return, the corrected payroll reports, employees' information, records, payment confirmations, and any state notices that you may have received. After that, review the state correction requirement to confirm the correct form, filing method, agency, and your deadline.
So you should also determine whether the correction has a financial impact. So you should be asking yourself, is additional tax due? Is the employer entitled to a refund or a credit? Does a payment need to be transferred? And could the penalties or interest apply? That's obviously we want to stay far away from that.
And then finally, submit the correction and continue monitoring the state account.
Right. So the last step is important. Don't assume that the issue is resolved just because a correction was submitted. That's important to know. So
Mhm.
you should always confirm that your state has
Right.
accepted and processed, and that the employer's account balance is accurate
Mhm.
and settled.
In most cases, you should correct an error as soon as it's confirmed.
Yep.
This may mean taking multiple steps or actions. Excuse me. Immediately after discovering the error, after receiving a notice from the state, before the next filing quarter, and before error affects future returns or employees' records.
Mm-hmm. So what can happen if a confirmed error is left unresolved, Christy?
Waiting may result in penalties, interest, collection notices, incorrect account balances,
Yes.
incorrect employee wages reported, problems with future filings, and potential audits.
Yeah. So the goal is to act promptly
Mhm.
and carefully. So confirm the error and the state's specific requirements before submitting anything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And how can tax bandits help prevent future corrections? The best correction is the one you never file.
Yes.
Before submitting a state roll payroll, just take a few extra minutes to review your payroll reports, verify employees' names, social
Mm-hmm.
security numbers, double check wages, withholding totals, confirm any federal EINs
Mm-hmm.
and state account numbers.
Yes.
Make sure you're not inverting numbers. That is a common error.
Mm-hmm.
Review the unemployment tax rate. A decimal can make a big difference.
Yes.
Make sure employees are assigned to the correct state. A lot of states use the 2 digit acronyms, so make sure that you're using the correct one for your
Yeah.
state.
That's a good point.
Confirm the quarter and reporting period and monitor filing acknowledgments, and then keep all your supporting documents.
Yes, keep it. A final review will make the biggest difference.
Mhm.
Spending an extra 5 minutes reviewing the return before filing is and will always be faster than spending hours and correcting it later, but also
Mhm.
having to contact the state agencies. I'm sure we've all tried to contact agencies,
Yes.
and it's not a fun thing. So
Mm-mm. Especially when that error affects more than one agency and
yeah,
requires payments to be moved between reporting periods.
yes, could be a mess. But um, we can now discuss how, if you ever find yourself in this mess, how tax bandits can help you manage and prevent the state payroll filing errors. So, if a filing is rejected, tax bandits will display the filing status and available rejection information. This allows the user to identify the problem. You can fix it and resubmit the original return instead of filing an unnecessary amendment.
But what if the return was accepted and now needs to be corrected?
So, Tax Bandits currently supports state payroll corrections for Arizona, the
Mhm.
District of Columbia, Massachusetts, North Carolina, Oklahoma, and Vermont. So, those are the states right now that we support the amendment or correction forms
Okay.
for. Um, because amendment support varies by state form, or state and the form, users should confirm that applicable correction is available in Tax Bandits before, just assuming that it's there. I can say, though, we are actively working towards supporting.
Multiple more states. Yeah.
Yes.
Tax Bandits also gives the user the filing history, which makes it easier to locate previously filed returns, review
Mm-hmm.
the information that was originally submitted as well.
Mm-hmm. So for larger um, payroll companies, the CSV imports and
Mhm.
export options can simplify reviewing and updating employee and wage information.
Mm.
Built-in validations can also help identify the common errors before a return is transmitted.
Okay, so After filing, users can monitor the return's progress through the status tracking in their Tax Bandits account, including whether the return is pending, accepted, rejected, or in another stage of processing.
Right. So Tax Bandits also securely stores your filings and available confirmations, making it so much easier to access your documentation, which is important in any filing processes. So when you're reviewing any errors, responding to a notice, or preparing a correction, you'll have all the documentation that you need.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So before we wrap it up, Christy, what would you say were the biggest and most important takeaways from this today?
First, always verify the filing status before taking any actions.
Yeah, I agree.
A rejected return generally needs to be corrected and resubmitted as an original. An accepted return may require a correction or an adjustment.
Yeah.
So secondly, determine which type of filing is affected. Is it the state withholding, the unemployment
Yes.
insurance, or the new hire reporting, which all could be handled by a different agency. So make
Yes.
sure you're checking those agencies and who you need to reach out to. And thirdly, correct any errors promptly. Correcting errors will prevent further late fees and penalties, interest, incorrect balances, and any complications for future filings.
Right. And finally, please remember that every state has its own process. That's very important to remember. Always review the state's specific instructions before you submit a correction. Tax Bandits can help simplify the process through the built-in validations, the filing histories, status tracking, secure record keeping, and correction support where available.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today. We hope that this webinar has helped make state payroll corrections easier to understand. And now, on to the Q&As.
Yeah, we'll move into the Q&A portion, and we'll see if we have any questions come in. If you have any questions that were not answered, you can ask them now. So what if I need to file a correction in several states? Do I need to do one for each state? You absolutely do.
Yes.
Again, every state has the different requirements and steps, so it's important that you make sure that you take the time to, check the requirements for each of the states that you need to file for and file the necessary corrections.
A side note on that as well, even though there's each state has a correction, you need to make sure that each agency within each state is being followed as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You're very welcome, Ken.
All right, it doesn't look like we have any more, so we're gonna wrap this up. But always remember, if you need any additional support, you can always reach out to our support team. You can reach them by email at support@taxbandits.com or by phone 704-684-4751. And we have a live chat Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. So, all right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.